Amanda, welcome to the Star Coach Show.
Oh, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here.
And we're going to be talking about something that is so interesting. You are certified in something called trauma and tension release exercises. And it really is about the fact that we're all of us, whether you're a coach listening or a leader listening or our clients, I mean, like, so both lenses that we look through, we all experience stress and trauma on a daily basis. Our bodies sort of absorb and consume that. It creates all sorts of issues. So we're going to be talking about what's the impact of that, and then what this certification you have and what you invite people in to through the work that you do, what what opportunities that opens up to release, to engage with our daily stress on a different level, and just kind of what that experience has been like for you. So I love having coaches on the show who do lots of different kinds of things. And this, I will, in full disclosure to everybody, when Amanda and I were talking about her being on the show, she said, I really want you to experience this before I come on the show. So she was generous enough to give me a session so that I could experience what this release exercise is like. And that informs some of the questions that I'm going to ask and some of the ways that we're going to engage, because I haven't just heard about this from Amanda, I actually experienced it, which thank you again for that beautiful gift.
You're
So
very
let's
welcome.
start with what actually, what led you into wanting to be certified in this trauma and tension release?
That's a great question. I'm very curious, and I'm very curious about the role of our body in how we act in the world, in the way that we behave, in the way that we show up in the world. I'm very curious about that. Um, so throughout my coaching journey, I've been studying and studying, and then I came across TRE. I've done TRE in my coaching training. And I was like, this is very interesting. That's different. But that didn't sparkle much in me by then. After a while, I tried again. And it was so powerful. I had such a release on the day that I tried again, TRE. And the person who was providing it for me her presence was so abundant and so welcoming that I was able to release so many layers that I cannot put into words. And I definitely could feel in my body. And I was very curious. I was okay, so how can I get more of it? How can I learn more of it? And how can I provide that kind of experience for other people? So that's how Terry came to be in my life, out of my own experience of releasing. It was a beautiful session. I cried, I laughed, I shaked a lot. And then I felt the release, literally the release leaving my body, and how I was acting on the following days, and how I integrated that into my life made such a shift in my life that I wanted to learn more about.
Love that. So we will be referring to this kind of exercise as TRE, trauma and tension release exercises. So if you hear TRE, that's what we're talking about. And let's kind of start in the fact of, when you're working with people, the reality is we all have some stress, some trauma, and there's that stress, like that we need some level of stress to be able to get out of bed, to be able to kind of like function and meet the challenges in front of us. We want to have some level of stress. And then there's also stress that can just become overwhelming, or can impact our body in lots of different ways. In your experience and through your training, what are some of the ways that people are impacted by the stress that they carry, maybe even carry under the radar, that they don't realize that they're carrying this kind of stress?
Yes, and I'm bringing that point that is very, very important because, like you said in the opening, the stress keeps stored in our body. The body keeps the score of everything that we live and how we perceive situations in our life. Um, So we keep storing that in the form of back pain, jaw pain, stomach pain. And then if we don't deal with that stress that is stored in our body, that can lead to chronic diseases. If you go to the doctor, if you have any disease or any illness, and you go to the doctor, most probably the doctor is going to ask you if you're stressed. Nowadays, stress is the leading cause for illness, because that's it. That's the fast-paced life that we live in. And what happens is we usually don't take the time to fully recover from the stress. Like you said, the use stress is important. The language that I use is mobilization. If we're thinking about our autonomic nervous system and the way that we need to autonomic nervous system to deal with things in our life, things that are automatic for us, like breathing, like our heart beating, like swallowing, right? Things that we don't think about. Our autonomic nervous system will do that for us. And our autonomic nervous system is the one who mobilizes us into action. The thing is, sometimes our autonomic nervous system perceives things on our outer world as danger or safety. When it perceives as danger, it's going to mobilize us. It's going to mobilize us to action. And if we don't, after mobilization, we go back to, oh, now I'm back into restoring, relaxed. I'm able to release all the tension that I had. We keep carrying that stress in our body. So that's I think that's the hidden problem that we have. Like, we are not necessarily aware of releasing that stress because it feels normal if we don't take time to pause and really actually release the layers that are stored.
So good. And that's interesting because I just right before this interview, I got out of a mentor group that I was running. And one of the competency that we were working on today was embodies a
Coach
coaching
mindset.
mindset. Huh. And then part of what we were talking about was that we have to release what we're carrying from the things before we go into a session. So we were talking about the importance of sort of releasing and setting an intention for your next coaching session. And what I'm hearing you say is that often we go through a stressful situation and we're not cognitively or even emotionally aware. Am I releasing what I've carried from this thing, or am I just on to the next thing? And so if we're just on to the next thing without releasing, then we're carrying that residue into the next thing, and the residue builds up and builds up and builds up. And so what this does is give us a release. And it's a very interesting process. How did this TRE process come to be? Do you know, like, what created this process?
Yeah, it's a very interesting story. It was created by Dr. David Berceli. He's a PhD and he is a world known for dealing with trauma. And he had lived in many countries and war zones. And what he realized while helping people in these war zones was that when, for example, a bomb would go off, um, and they were in the shelter, the kids would, everybody contracts, right? When a bomb goes off,
Right.
it's very scary, everybody contracts. The kids, after the bomb goes off, they start to shake, and they shake, 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 and they go out and play. As adults, we learn as a society that shaking is a sign of weakness. It's a sign that, oh, you're scared. Oh, you're scared of that presentation. Oh, you're scared to answer that email. You're scared with that conversation with your boss. So we learn that shaking is not okay. So we contract, we learn to contract. And he was
And we
like,
hold it
that's
all in.
exactly, we
Yeah.
hold it all in. And there is a difference between the way that the adults behave and the kids. So he started to research and learn more into it, and he realized that we as mammals, we have this natural mechanism to release stress, which is tremoring. And he created this series of 7 exercises that we can do to activate this natural mechanism, which is a neurogenic tremor created by our autonomic nervous system. that releases the stress. The shaking starts in our psoas muscle, which is located in our pelvic area, and we cannot access through massage or anything. It's only through shaking. So that's a fantastic way to access the mechanism and release the layers of stress that we're not cognitively aware of. We're not conscious about it. Emotions that are trapped in our body that we're not aware of. We don't even have to talk about it. Our body will do the job for us. So that's how it came to be, in this desire of Dr. Berselli to help as many people as possible to release stress, to release tension and trauma.
So just like a little note there, the research that he did, I mean, the reality is there are so many places in the world where people are still living in war-torn regions, and they have things like bombs going off near their homes. And I just want to kind of have us all cumulatively send positive energy
Yeah.
towards all those places in the world where this is reality. Maybe those of you who are listening, your trauma is that you've got a big presentation to do. And I'm not minimizing but the reality is the work that this doctor did was people huddled in bomb shelters, and that's happening to this minute. And I just I think we all as a body of human beings need to send positive healing, um, peace, thought, energy towards all those regions of the world. So that's just
So true. So true. This is beautiful. So true. Yeah.
so as we think about what you're doing, you invite people into physical exercises with you. So let's start with, how do you in what is it that you're doing as a business owner to say, look, this is available to you. Here is a process that I've been trained in, that I believe in, and I'm going to invite you into, because it was vulnerable to be in that space with you. It was vulnerable to sort of, your work is not, and we talked, but we also did physical work together. So let's start maybe with, how do you even set the stage to invite people into that with you?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question because that's true. The whole process happens in vulnerability. And that's the big role that I have there, to hold that safe space for people so they can access their body. We usually are not very connected with our mind and body. And this process is a beautiful way to connect, to help us connect with mind and body, and to keep going back to that process. TIE was designed to be a self-help tool. So my work is to support people to learn how to access the tremor and to practice the tremor in safety. So I'm there supporting, creating the environment so people know what to expect. If they have questions, I'm there. If they're feeling something, we can share about it. And what I'm doing is I'm understanding how the body of that person works by talking to them while they're shaking and holding that beautiful space for them.
Mhm.
And throughout the sessions, usually we do a series of 3 or 4 sessions together so they can learn how their body work. So when they leave the session, they have this sense of safety. All I'm trying to do is help people to find safety. Remember when I told you what our autonomic nervous system does? Danger, safety. In training to find safety and noticing how it feels inside our body, the safety, the more that we practice, the easier it comes to us. When we practice TRE, we release what it needs to be released, and then our body goes back to homeostasis, go back to the baseline of safety. So the whole work that I do is around the entry door is stress and resilience, because that's what people usually come to me to talk about. I've been stressed. I need to build up on resilience, and that's how we start the conversation.
Okay, so somebody might approach you or know of your work and say, Amanda, I've been so stressed, or I've been in a maybe I'm not sleeping well, or I'm all wrapped around the axle about whatever thing. And then what is it that you might say, or how would you present the work that you do to get them to step into this space with you?
Oh, I would try to understand, check with them where this all is coming from, right? And try to work with them, showing how our autonomic nervous system works and
Mhm.
how those responses that we have, they are automatic. The response to stress that we have is automatic. It's a survival mechanism that we have. And for me, it was liberating to understand that. Once I understood that the reaction that I'm having to a circumstance at work, a family circumstance, is just based on my nature, on my body trying to keep me the best that it can, my whole concept shifted. It's not about me not having certain qualities, certain skill, not being capable, being weak. It's all about my body doing its best to make me survive the situation that I'm assessing. So it gave
Love.
me another lens. And that's
Mhm.
what I try to give to my clients, another lens to look through, and empowerment to see, wow, if I can look through that lenses and I am in my body and I'm walking with my body all day long. So I have power to get in touch with my body, release what needs to be released, and find the safety again that I need um, to go through the challenges of my life, to go through the happiness of my life, to live life fully. So that's the work that I do. That's the conversation, the kind of conversations
I
that we
love
have.
that. So a couple things that I heard there are you do a little bit of education. You educate people as to our natural responses. Um, you might even share what you shared with everybody around what the research about this has shown, and then invite people to explore a different way to respond, a different to become more connected with their bodies, to be more connected with the process. So you talk somebody into the I mean, like, not talk them into it, but you're offering this and they engage in this with you. Can you share a little bit about what a session might look like as somebody walks into TRE with you?
So what do we do first? We connect. The beginning of the session is always about creating that safe space. It's about connecting and supporting the person to feel safe in my presence. And for me as well, to feel comfortable in their presence. So we
Mhm.
connect as human beings. So we talk a little bit very lightly about stuff, and then we connect. Once I notice that the connection is there, I'm gonna talk to them what's gonna happen. And I talk about the exercises that we're gonna do. They learn what are the exercises. They have, if they have questions, they answer I answer the questions, and then we go into doing the exercises. And I do it usually and I try to do it in a very light way, in a very like playing and talking about life in general. It's nothing mystical or very serious. It's just in a very light way because that's the environment that I want to create. We go through the exercises. I demonstrate how shaking happens so they know what to expect. So they see my body shaking. And I'm very clear every time that I do it that it's my body shaking in that moment. No other shake has to be like my shake. And my shake looks different every time that I do. So they learn how it happens. They go to do the shaking themselves. I'm guiding them throughout the process. I'm always there, sitting beside them in a distance that is comfortable for them. Or if it's online, I'm there with the camera watching what is happening there. They go through the shaking and we talk through the shaking. So we get
Mhm.
curious about the shaking. So what part of your body is shaking? Oh, the shaking is moving up. It's moving to my arm. Oh, that's interesting. How does that feel? Does that feel comfortable? Does that feel weird?
Mhm.
How intense is the shake? So we talk about that and we discuss about what is happening in the present moment with the shake. They always learn how to stop the shake at any moment they can stop the shaking.
Mhm.
So I invite them to stop the shaking halfway through the process if they haven't done so.
Mhm.
And then they shake the 20 minutes that we shake, they shake. And then when they finish, there is this integration where they stay quiet in silence, letting their body integrate everything that was released in that moment. And then we finalize with drinking water to ground and debriefing about their experience and talking about what comes up for them in terms of the sensations, the feelings that they have, and how is all of that experience is showing up for them. That's usually a session.
That's a beautiful, so I will say, from having walked through a session with you, you do a beautiful job of, as you're, because you do exercises to prep for the shaking. And so you're very, engaging, and I think that if we look through the lens of connection and trust and safety and coaching presence, you are all those things. You're sort of keeping the conversation flowing so that there's not this awkwardness while we're in these different exercises together. And you were telling me that after the TRE session, that might open things up, that somebody would then maybe do some ongoing coaching with you about some of the things that might have surfaced through that integration. So it's a combination of TRE and traditional coaching. Would you say that that's accurate?
That's accurate, exactly. Because what happens is we, I like to think of STRE as us as onions, and then when we do TRE, we release the layers of the onion that our body is ready to release. Um, and throughout, after the TRE session, we go living our life normally, and we start to notice things. We start to realize things. Some people realize that they are um, less emotionally reactive. For me, that's a big one. For me, I
Yeah.
get very centered emotionally when I practice my TRE. It's obvious my the space that I have between being triggered by something and responding and not reacting. For me, it's very, very consistent. Some people feel like, oh, I'm having dreams about something, or I notice that I'm getting triggered by something that I was not triggered before. So, what I love to bring coaching into this process is we have space to talk about what is coming out for them. Because I believe in the two work, the work with the body, which I think it's essential, and the
Mhm.
work with what comes up. Let's talk through it. Let's reframe what needs to be reframed. Let's shift the stories that we need to shift in order for us to be the best that we can, to be the person that we want to be. So for me, both come hand in hand when we can shed the layers in TRE and have someone to talk about what is coming up in our life after the process.
Love that. So let's imagine, you said early on that you do several sessions to kind of teach somebody the process. And then once somebody realizes how to prepare themselves to shake, how to, because you said they should self coach, keep these up. How often should somebody, and let's not shit on people, but what do you recommend, that how often somebody should be in this place of doing release?
Well, it's very personal.
Mhm.
What I notice in my own experience is that um, I try to do once a week.
Mhm.
Sometimes I do less often. And when I notice myself getting into overwhelm and overthinking, and then I go like, oh, okay, Thierry,
I haven't
let me do.
released. Yeah, I'm starting to build up my layers. Yeah.
Exactly. So I like to have TRE as a once a week practice for myself. In times where I feel like I have more stressful events, I will practice more often. It's very personal, and it's a tool for self discovery. What works best for each person, and depending on the person, we we get into that together, what works best for the person. They practice their experience, and then we talk about what are the effects and how they think they can incorporate that into their routine.
So good. So what's some of the feedback that you get from your clients who have adopted this and built it into their weekly structure, their monthly, whatever. They've incorporated this into their lives.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I love to talk about it. um, so I had people tell me, um, Amanda, I didn't know it was possible to live with a different level of stress. I didn't know it was possible to live this way. This person was carrying so much stress in their body that their heart rate was constantly high. Um, they were able to decrease their resting heart rate, which is phenomenal, right?
Yes.
So and this person was able to deal with stress in a whole different way. They were not drinking alcohol anymore as a way to escape. They were not alcoholic, but
No, but it no longer was their release mechanism or their like,
exactly,
let me
they
unwind with
go
a glass of
to
wine kind of thing. Yeah.
exactly they go to right.
Right.
So they found a new way, and they said that like the relationships shifted, the way that they were looking toward shifted. So it was a very different person before and after. Even their face changed from the day
Interesting.
one to the last day. Like the face was so much more relaxed, and it was a group setting, that example, so everybody noticed that too. Another person mentioned that Thierry came into her life when she was um, noticing that she needed to do something and she couldn't, and she was about to get her medicine for anxiety. And she was like, let me try Thierry first. So she would try TRE, and then she was like, oh, okay, now I can finish my daily tasks. I can finish dinner. I can walk my son. I can walk the dog, and I can finish the work that I need to finish by the end of the day.
So she didn't need medicine. She
She
used
didn't
TRE
need
instead.
exactly, exactly.
So
So
good.
for me, that was so, oh my goodness, that's so powerful to be able to access our own resources. And that's what I'm about here, using our own resources, either with us or with other people, doing TRE with other people, right? Sometimes we have groups of people. Let's do some TRE
That's what I was
together
going
to
to
really,
say. You
yeah.
mentioned group. So tell me a little bit about what a group getting together doing this might look like.
I love the group setting. Although the 101 allows for a very specific conversation around the specific body that we're there to assist, the group setting, it brings a beautiful atmosphere and environment for people to be together and to be experiencing what it's possible in other person's body. So being there, I think it brings us our shared humanity
Mhm.
um, to the forefront, because we get to hear about how people feel stress in their life and how they're dealing with it, the effects, how they're shaking, how they're relating to their shaking, how they're relating to the discovery of their shaking in their body. And because of limbic resonance, people connect to each other, and the shaking is different when we are in group and when we are by ourselves. So I think it's
Interesting.
very, very powerful to do shaking in groups.
Oh, that's so interesting. So I love the fact that you were willing to come forward and say, look, this is another way to partner with people towards meeting the goals that they have in life. And maybe the goal that we're looking for now is I want to manage the stress that is happening in my life in a different way. I want to manage my outcomes in a different way. Um, and I just get I think that like as we are starting to wrap up our time together, if maybe we can talk about the importance of being grounded.
Oh my goodness, it's so important, isn't it? That's the safety that I talk about, and it's so, I think it's so crucial to know that we have that ability, and to know the tool, and to keep discovering the tools that helps us to feel grounded, to go back to, oh, that's who I am when I'm connected, when I'm noticing that I can act in the world, and I'm not in danger. I feel safe. So I can connect to people and I can bring my best self. It's so important, and I encourage people to keep finding tools to help them ground.
So, Amanda, as we're wrapping up, anything that we've left on the table that is important for people to think about as they begin to consume this concept of TRE, and that might be resources that you can recommend, or your sort of wrap up thoughts around what you do and what it's maybe even changed for you as a coach.
Wow.
I know
Yeah.
it was a huge question. It was like, here, what
Yeah.
do you want to take? What do you want to do with our last few minutes? Yes.
Wow, there are 2 points that I love, that you said. Let me get what changed for me as a coach, first. I think it changed my consciousness of my presence, the importance of taking care of myself so I can show up in a way that allows me to serve fully my client.
Hmm.
So I'm talking about the process of getting ready for a coaching session, my preparation, everything that I do in my life to feel grounded and to feel to increase my presence in front of my clients. And also after the session, what I need to do to leave what I need to leave behind, and reintegrate into my life back, right? To choose how I'm going to go back to my life and leave, go back to live my life. So that journey of getting in, getting out of the session, I think I expanded in that way, practicing TRE. And I think what I offer, the level of presence that I offer to my clients is different when I'm able to do all of that process. So
So good.
love
So
that.
good. So we will have links to connect with Amanda in the show notes for this episode. Um, such great and sort of unique information. I will tell you, I've been in this field a long time. I was a therapist prior to that, and going through these exercises with you was a very unique experience. And the other thing that I think is awesome about what you do is you follow up with people afterwards. Like the next day, you sent me texts. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Has anything opened up for you? So it is a really holistic kind of approach. And once again, I was just so honored that you invited me into that with you. And thank you for that.
Oh, my complete pleasure. It's a pleasure to meet you. It's lovely to have this conversation with you and to learn more about you as we discover TIE together and as we talk in this session here. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for sharing your expertise with the Star Coach audience.
Thank you. Thank you for having the amazing show. Oh my goodness, what a service to the community.
Oh, thank you.